Hi, and welcome to week 3, lecture 1. This first lecture for this week is going to be about our environmental and social topic, which are eroding soils and expanding deserts. There are threats to the topsoil that we have, and the topsoil is defined as the arable portion of the land where you can grow crops, where you have gardens, where you have forests growing, and where you have vegetation for grazing animals to eat. So we want to look at things that can affect that and degrade it in different ways. The second issue that we're going to look at this week, which is in conjunction with it, is desertification, parts of the world that are slowly turning into deserts. And not only do they not have the ability to grow crops or have farm animals, but they're areas where people can no longer live. They have to move out of the areas that they've been living in and move into another area. And this is called marginalization. When, let's say, a village in Africa has land that's become so arid and so eroded that it's becoming a desert, they're then pushed to the edge of that land or pushed onto the edge of another piece of land where they're not going to be able to have a subsistence living that is as satisfying as it was before. So the first thing we're going to do is look at what are the threats to topsoil. And there are three big ones. The first one is overplowing. And if you go out and you plow so that you can plant your seeds or rotate your crops, in areas that are drying out, this turns over, as you turn over the soil, the finer grain particles are going to get caught up by the wind and they're going to blow away. So you're not going to have as thick of a topsoil as you would have normally had. The second is overstocking, and overstocking is livestock. So if you have too many animals that are trying to graze on one part of land, they're going to take up all of the vegetation that's there. And when the vegetation is removed, the vegetation was holding the ground in place by its roots. You now have removed that, and so you have more chance for the same thing that you have with overplowing is you're starting to lose the topsoil to wind. The other thing that you can have, because you have nothing holding the ground in place, is that if you have floods, then that topsoil is going to erode away very quickly. It's going to come in as runoff with the rain, and it's going to carry away part of the topsoil with it. The third is deforestation. And deforestation happens for many reasons. The first one is people clearing land so that they can have farmlands. And the second is people clearing land so that they can gather firewood. And in Africa and parts of South America, 50% of the energy that is used is firewood. So because they don't have the infrastructure or the resources for oil or natural gas or other different plants that would produce energy, they're actually using the forests so that they can have an energy source. So that's one reason why deforestation happens. Another is clear cutting for logging. If you have areas of the Amazon rainforests where companies are going in illegally and they are clear cutting the rainforest and selling the expensive hardwoods for money. But what happens after that a lot of times is because cropland where residents are is turning bad, they will then go to those areas that have been deforested and they will work that land until it's not fertile anymore, and then they'll move on to the next patch. So all of these together are factors that affect the quality of the topsoil or its presence. This can lead to desertification, and when you have a lot of erosion of your topsoil and then you have an extended period of drought, the fertile soil is blown away and you have desert conditions that have come in and they've taken over, and that land is no longer good for inhabitants. So as you erode the topsoil, as you overplow, as you overstock, through deforestation and flood-induced erosion. You're taking the land that was once productive that people could live on, and you're making it uninhabitable for the most part. Now, we're going to see that these deserts are expanding. The Sahara, around the Sahara desert in Africa, there's a band called the Sahel. So you have the rainforest, the Sahel, and then the Saharan desert. And the Sahel, the band between, is an area where it is fertile. You're not in the rainforest portion of it, but you have average rainfall, you have fertile soils, so you have an area that's very populated. And the Sahara Desert, deserts are going to move. When you have wind and you have sand and it blows, the dunes are naturally going to move in the direction that the wind is blowing. But this process is sped up by the processes that are eroding the topsoil. So you're creating an area in the Sahel that has been historically an area where people have been able to have their livelihoods, and it's turning into an area now where it's not inhabitable. And we're going to see the same thing in China, where you have the Taklamakan, you have the Gobi deserts, and how they're expanding, and they're taking indigenous lands over, where it's driving groups of people out of them, and they're being marginalized onto the edge, where they have smaller plots of land that are much less productive than the ones that they have been farming on. So that's the basic overview for the erosion of topsoil and desertification. I hope that this helped you in some way, and I will talk to you soon.